Skycam Tri-City. My name is Mark, and over the next few months I'm hoping to bring you a lot of footage from the Tri-City here in Poland. First though, I wanted to kind of do a bit of a video about top tips for beginners to drone flying. So I'm going to start off with 10 pre-flight top tips, especially for beginners. Here we go. Plan. Before you go out to a location for your first shot, or even if it's a few shots down the line after you've had your drone, the best thing to do is really plan. So if you've never been to that location before, use something like Google Maps and use a satellite image. Plan where you could have your takeoff spot, your landing spots, and plan your flight. If you can't find anything like that, or you just can't get to grips with using Google Maps to find locations, then look on YouTube. There's so many videos and other people will have been there before you. So check what they've videoed, what pictures they've taken, and see if you can recreate that, but with your own style, obviously. Weather. When flying drones, weather can really be our worst enemy. One of the reasons I'm stuck inside today is because of the weather. It's raining and pretty windy at the moment. I was supposed to be out taking some shots of a local beach here in Poland. So the best thing to do when you're planning your flight, so from the first step, plan. When you're planning your flight, also check the weather. You can use apps like UAV Forecast. It's a free app. You can set your own thresholds in there. So you can set what speed you want the wind to be at, and it'll send you warnings and tell you when it's safe to fly. So definitely a real tip, UAV Forecast app on both iPhone and Android. Updates. There's nothing worse than arriving at location, turning on your drone and finding out that it needs an update. The firmware has just been released overnight and you need to update it. So there's anywhere up to 20 minutes, half an hour sitting waiting before you can even take a flight. So make sure this is all done before you get to location. Update the firmware before you leave, and check also your maps. Make sure your maps are updated on your app that you use to fly, because you need the latest maps when flying. Power. I mean, this sounds really obvious, to be honest, but the amount of times I have gone out and forgotten to charge my controller, and that's like the worst thing that can happen. So all your batteries are charged, you've got multiple spare batteries, but you forget to charge your controller. So make sure everything's charged up, not only your controller, your spare batteries, and also your mobile phone or whatever other device you may be using to control your drone. Kit list. The amount of times I've gone out flying and I've left a cable or even my memory card at home. So what I did to stop me forgetting things basically is I made my own little kit list. So every time I go out, I tick the items off and just make sure I have the vital things to make sure I can have a flight and also have a safe flight. Some of the items that are in my kit list, which I use for my Mavic Mini, are the following. Landing pad, ideal for when taking off or landing on sand or long grass. Never thought I would ever need one, to be honest, and thought they were a bit of a gimmick, but really does come in handy and protect the drone. Next thing, something like this, little rocket air thing that cleans. Don't forget your spare batteries and your battery pack. Cables, vital. Especially this one, which connects the camera to your camera phone to the drone controller. Little screwdriver and spare propellers, or what we often refer to as props. One thing I often forget, the memory card, or in this case memory card adapter. So if you're editing on the go, always remember your memory card adapter. And in my case, I often edit on an iPhone when I'm out, so the adapter plugs directly into the iPhone. Obviously I know you can download direct from the drone to the phone, but sometimes that does diminish the quality of your videos. So make yourself a kit list and stick to it every time you go out, then you won't forget anything. Inspection. So once I'm at location, before setting off on my flight, I always inspect the drone, make sure the propellers are no cracks in them, no chips. Make sure there's no damage to the drone itself that could have happened while traveling to location. I also check to make sure the battery's fitted and the battery door is closed on the drone. Another thing, while doing the inspection, always make sure that the memory card is fully inserted into the drone. Worst thing that can happen, you get up on your flight, you're flying around, you realise your memory card isn't even in the drone. Gimbal cover. I've seen this happen so many times. Somebody's on a flight taking a video and they forgot to remove the gimbal cover. So at this point of the pre-flight, I always remove the gimbal cover, and I also take this opportunity to clean the lens on the camera. Sometimes I use the rocket cleaner, as I showed you before, and I also have a little brush like that, Car's Ice one, which will clean any dust from the camera. Takeoff. So you're now ready to take off. Once you're in the air, I always hover around about 10 meters from the ground and just make sure that the drone's flying correctly, it's not making any strange sounds, and make sure that you're connected to the satellites and the signal strength is good. Home point. Make sure before you start flying that the alert on the app has given you the information that your home point has been set. So that means it's got the GPS satellites and it knows exactly where your home point is. Manually set your return to home height. So this, for those who don't know, is when the drone returns home automatically, it'll rise to the certain height you set in your settings. So what you want to do is look around at the obstacles that could cause any problems when this drone returns home, and set your return to home height higher than the highest obstacle on your flight path. So what I would do is look around, see if there's a tree there. I'd fly up to the top of that tree, figure out the height and add a few meters on top. And that'll mean you're not going to crash into anything on the way home. Camera settings. At this point, I always set my settings for the camera to make sure that I'm going to be ready to get the shot that I want, whether that be video or photographs. And a quick bonus tip, make sure you set your maximum height to be within the local laws for where you're flying. You don't want to get into any trouble and break any laws in countries that you may not be familiar with. So now, after all of that, you're ready to fly. Just don't forget to press the record button.